I don't think you have a weak core. I think you haven't been taught properly. The reason core work goes into your back, your neck, or your hip flexors is you are missing critical information that links your core and your breathing. It's not you, it's not your body. The cues you've been using are outdated. In this episode, I'll give you a simple 3-step formula to find your true core no matter what you're doing, making the bed, picking up a kid, or lifting at the gym. I'm going to give you the full formula and then we'll break it down bit by bit. True core is based on your breathing, driven by your diaphragm, and requires your rib cage and pelvis stacked. That's it. That's the whole thing. But it's harder than it sounds based on breathing habits, postural patterns, and muscular imbalances. Every episode in this series has been unpacking one part of this formula and or teaching you how to maintain it. Part number 1, true core is based on your breathing. Your breathing is the engine, not your abs, not your effort, but the rhythm of respiratory diaphragm and pelvic floor diaphragm moving together. That rhythm generates intra-abdominal pressure. It's a steady, solid container at the very core of your body. Intra-abdominal pressure generates a sense of safety and stability that travels through your whole body. In order to get that, your breathing must be driven by your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is the muscle of your breathing. When you inhale, the diaphragm is meant to widen, flatten, and descend. It creates a vacuum that pulls air into your lungs. When you exhale, the diaphragm lifts up and into its resting position, and your abdominal muscles help push the air out. That's why during your exhale, you have a mechanical advantage for doing anything effortful. And that's one of our principles for moving and maintaining your core. Sucking your belly up and in during inhale, short, shallow chest breathing, breathing in and out through your mouth, and breathing into your belly all bypass the respiratory diaphragm and set the stage for dysfunctional breathing and disrupt your true core. When you have the rib cage and pelvis stacked, the movement of the respiratory diaphragm will be picked up by the pelvic floor. It's that rhythm, those two musculotendinous sheets moving in tandem, that creates intra-abdominal pressure. And this is where a lot of people get lost due to postural patterns and muscular imbalances. For example, if you're stuck in the good posture trap where you're lifting your chest up and the ribs are flared, and then your butt swings back, your respiratory diaphragm and pelvic floor cannot talk. Similarly, if you have a safety tuck, you've tucked under in order to protect your lower back, your respiratory diaphragm and pelvic floor cannot talk. Similarly, if you have a tendency to grip and grab with your shoulders, your neck, your hip flexors, your groins, that superficial tension will keep the respiratory diaphragm from moving freely and fully and setting up that rhythm that generates intra-abdominal pressure. To break these postural patterns and keep the rib cage and pelvis stacked, you need strength in 5 specific muscles: transverse abdominis, obliques, hamstrings, adductors, and serratus anterior. Episode 2 in this series walks you through all 5 and gives you my favorite postures for strengthening each one. When one or more of those muscles are weak, which happens for almost all modern humans unless you train them specifically, you have compensating patterns that take over, or you can't quite seem to get out of the postural pattern you're in, and it's difficult to maintain that stack that sets the stage for the respiratory diaphragm pelvic floor rhythm that generates the intra-abdominal pressure you need for true core to be based on your breathing. But once you have the stack and you're driving your breathing from your diaphragm, then you have a core strength that is based on your breathing, and then your breathing can become the driver of your core strengthening. And that's when you can have an unshakable core, a strong, steady, solid center that is always with you. Because many people can find core in certain special circumstances, like on the yoga mat, in a Pilates class, when you're doing super specific core work, but then as soon as you need it in your daily activity or when you're lifting, you tend to lose it. Like when you're making the bed, picking up the grandkids, doing gardening or landscaping, when you're on a steep climb or you've just flown across the country. Then your core strength is lost when you need it most. But when you have have an unshakable core, you are set up for whatever load or lifestyle you want. And the formula is the same, whether you're on the plane, on a trail, on a tennis court, based on your breathing, driven by your diaphragm, rib cage, and pelvis stacked. Other keys that we talked about in the breathing and moving episode are use your exhale during effort, stay aligned with your bony landmarks, heels, sitting bones, shoulder blades, skull, because those help you keep rib cage and pelvis stacked. Then you have a core that works all the time, not just sometimes. And this has created near miraculous results for me and my students and clients. For example, Sonia could ski for 3 days and have no pain. Carolyn could go on her backpacking trip and not worry about her knees. Annie could fly to Spain and keep up with her friends who are half her age. And I can trail run again with my dog. When your core is based on your breathing, driven by your diaphragm, and your rib cage and pelvis are stacked, it just happens. It's like interlocking gears. When you have the alignment, when you have the awareness, you don't have to think about it anymore. It just keeps going. No bracing, efforting, or chasing required. Now that you have the knowledge and you have the formula, use a practice to put it in your body. There are companion practices for every podcast episode in this series. Breathing for core takes you through that 5 muscle formula. You have core practices where you first unravel compensating patterns. You have progressive core where you work through different types of load. And then you have unshakable core practices where you work to get and maintain that stack. If you want to play with these, add and distraction free, download the Asana Strong app. If you're still confused about how this applies to you, schedule a strength audit. This is a free 20-minute call where you can pick my brain about your body. I'll give you at least 3 recommended practices and a video walkthrough. Thanks for being on this journey with me. I hope you found core you've never done before and you're able to take it with you into your everyday life and the things you love.